What happens when one of Hollywood's most straightforward actors sits down with a talk show host who's having the worst day of her career? Well, you're about to find out, because what went down between Mark Wahlberg and Kelly Clarkson on her show was absolutely explosive. We're talking about a clash so intense that security had to get involved. Cameras stopped rolling, and Mark walked off set in a way that left everyone speechless. This is the story that the network tried to bury, but the truth always finds a way out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because this story is going to blow your mind. The Kelly Clarkson Show was supposed to be a safe space, a feel-good environment where celebrities could promote their latest projects, while Kelly's bubbly personality kept everything light and entertaining. But on this particular Tuesday afternoon, something was different. Kelly had been dealing with personal issues behind the scenes. Her divorce proceedings were getting messier by the day, and the pressure from network executives to boost ratings was reaching a breaking point. The show's numbers had been declining for months, and whispers about potential cancellation were getting louder in Hollywood circles. Mark Wahlberg walked onto the set that day expecting a typical promotional interview for his upcoming action thriller. He'd done hundreds of these appearances over the years, always professional, always prepared with his talking points about the movie, his fitness routine, and his family life in Boston. Mark had a reputation in the industry for being direct, honest, and completely no-nonsense. He didn't play games. He didn't engage in fake Hollywood pleasantries, and he certainly didn't tolerate disrespect from anyone, regardless of their status. The trouble started before the cameras even began rolling. Kelly's team had apparently done zero research on Mark's current projects, and when the pre-interview coordinator asked him about his new restaurant venture, Mark had to correct them that he'd sold his Wahlburgers chain years ago. When they asked about his recent collaboration with Will Ferrell, Mark pointed out that movie came out over a decade ago. It was clear that nobody on Kelly's staff had bothered to do even basic preparation for his appearance. Kelly herself seemed scattered during the brief backstage meeting. She barely made eye contact with Mark, was constantly checking her phone, and when her assistant mentioned they were running behind schedule, Kelly snapped at the woman in front of everyone. Mark noticed the tension immediately. He'd worked with enough high-maintenance people in Hollywood to recognize when someone was having a meltdown, but he also expected a certain level of professionalism, especially from someone hosting their own show. As they took their positions on the colorful set, Kelly's demeanor shifted into her trademark cheerful persona. But Mark could see right through it. The forced smile, the overenthusiastic gestures, the way she kept fidgeting with her cards. Something was definitely off, and Mark's instincts told him this wasn't going to be a smooth interview. The camera started rolling, and Kelly launched into her introduction with that familiar energy that had made her a beloved talk show host. "We're back with Mark Wahlberg, everybody. Mark, thank you so much for being here. I have to say, you look incredible as always." She flashed that million-dollar smile, but Mark caught something in her tone that felt condescending, like she was talking down to him. "Thanks for having me, Kelly," Mark replied with his usual Boston straightforwardness. "Happy to be here talking about the new film." Kelly nodded enthusiastically. But then instead of asking about his movie, she immediately pivoted to something completely different. "So Mark, I have to ask because our audience is dying to know. What's it like being married to someone so much younger than you? I mean, the age gap must create some interesting dynamics at home." The question caught Mark completely off guard, and not in a good way. His wife, Rhea, was only 8 years younger than him, hardly scandalous by Hollywood standards, and it was a strange way to start an interview that was supposed to focus on his new action movie. More importantly, the way Kelly phrased it carried an implication that made Mark's jaw tighten slightly. "Well, Kelly, my wife and I have been together for over 20 years, so I think we figured out how to make it work," Mark responded, his tone cooling noticeably. "But I'm here to talk about the film, which I think your audience would find pretty interesting." Kelly laughed, but it was that fake television laugh that everyone in the industry knew was code for, "I'm going to keep pushing this angle." She leaned forward in her chair, her eyes gleaming with the kind of predatory interest that tabloid journalists got when they smelled blood in the water. "Oh, come on, Mark. Don't be so serious. I'm just saying, you're this tough guy action star, and she's this beautiful younger woman. There must be some challenges there, right? Like, does she ever make you feel old?" The audience laughed nervously, sensing the tension that was building between the host and her guest. Mark's expression hardened, and anyone who knew him could see the warning signs. His shoulders squared, His voice dropped to that dangerously calm tone that he used right before he lost his temper. Kelly, with all due respect, I came here to promote a movie, not to discuss my marriage in whatever way you seem to be heading with this. My wife is an incredible woman. We have 4 amazing kids together, and frankly, I don't appreciate the implication in your question. Kelly's smile faltered for just a moment, but instead of backing down and moving on to safer territory, she doubled down. Maybe it was the stress she'd been under. Maybe it was desperation to create a viral moment that would save her show. Or maybe she was just having a bad day and taking it out on the wrong person. Wow, okay, touchy subject, she said with a laugh that sounded more like a bark. I mean, I was just making conversation, Mark. This is how talk shows work. We talk about your life, your relationships, your family. That's what people want to hear about. No, Kelly, that's not how this works. Mark shot back, his Boston accent getting thicker as his frustration grew. You book me to talk about my movie. You do your research. You ask relevant questions. And you treat your guests with respect. You don't ambush people with personal attacks disguised as small talk. The word ambush hung in the air like a challenge. And Kelly's face flushed red. She wasn't used to being called out on her own show, especially not by a guest who was supposed to play along with her format. The power dynamic had shifted completely, and she didn't like it one bit. Kelly's eyes flashed with anger at being challenged so directly on her own show. She set her note cards down with a sharp slap against her desk, the sound echoing through the suddenly quiet studio. The audience could feel the atmosphere shift from uncomfortable to genuinely hostile. Ambush. Kelly's voice rose an octave, her carefully crafted television persona cracking like a broken mask. Mark, I'm asking you basic questions that any other guest would be happy to answer. Maybe the problem isn't my questions. Maybe the problem is that you can't handle a woman who doesn't just nod and smile at everything you say. The accusation hit Mark like a slap across the face. In all his years of doing interviews, through all the ups and downs of his career, no one had ever suggested that he had a problem with strong women. His face darkened, and the muscle in his jaw started twitching the way it did right before he exploded on movie sets when directors pushed him too far. Are you seriously going to sit there and suggest I have a problem with women? Mark's voice was dangerously quiet now, the kind of calm that preceded a storm. Kelly, I've worked with some of the strongest, most talented women in this industry. I've supported female directors, female producers, female co-stars throughout my entire career, but what I don't support is unprofessional behavior, regardless of who it's coming from. Kelly laughed, but it was bitter and sharp. Oh, please spare me the feminist lecture, Mark. We both know your reputation. You're the guy who demands script changes when you don't like your lines, who walks off sets when things don't go your way, who has tantrums when directors don't kiss your ring. And now you're sitting on my show, on my stage, telling me how to do my job. The studio fell completely silent. Even the crew members stopped what they were doing to watch this train wreck unfold. Mark slowly leaned back in his chair, studying Kelly with the kind of cold assessment that made hardened criminals nervous during his cop movie roles. My reputation, Mark said slowly, is for being professional, prepared, and honest. I show up on time. I know my lines. I do my job. And I treat people with respect as long as they treat me the same way. What's happening right now, Kelly? This isn't professional. This is you having some kind of personal crisis and taking it out on me because I'm an easy target sitting right here. Personal crisis? Kelly's voice cracked slightly, revealing just how close to the edge she really was. You don't know anything about my personal life, Mark. You don't know what I'm dealing with, what I'm going through. You just waltz in here with your Boston tough guy act, expecting everyone to bow down because you're Mark Wahlberg. I don't expect anyone to bow down, Mark replied, his voice getting louder now as his patience finally reached its breaking point. I expect basic human decency. I expect you to do the job you're paid to do, which is to conduct a professional interview, not to attack your guests because you're having a bad day. And I especially don't expect to be accused of having problems with women when you're the one acting completely out of line. Kelly stood up abruptly, towering over Mark in her high heels, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. Out of line. Out of line. This is my show, Mark. Mine. I built this from nothing. I earned my place here, and I don't need some washed-up action star telling me how to run my own program. The washed-up comment was the final straw. Mark shot to his feet so fast that his chair rolled backward, and for a moment it looked like he might actually get physical. The audience gasped, and several crew members moved closer, unsure if they needed to intervene. Washed up. Mark's voice boomed across the studio, his Boston accent now thick enough to cut with a knife. Lady, I've been in this business for over 30 years. I've produced Oscar-nominated films. I've built businesses. I've created jobs for thousands of people. I'm here as a favor to your network, because they asked me to come on and promote my movie. But you know what? I don't need this. I don't need your show. I don't need your attitude. And I sure as hell don't need to sit here and be insulted by someone who clearly doesn't have her act together. Kelly's face was now completely red, a combination of embarrassment and rage that made her look almost unhinged. Then leave, Mark. Just leave. Walk off my set, like you walk off movie sets when you don't get your way. Show everyone what kind of professional you really are. You want me to leave? Mark asked, his voice dropping back to that dangerous calm. Fine, I'll leave. But not because you're kicking me off, Kelly. I'm leaving because I have too much respect for myself to sit here and be treated like garbage by someone who's clearly having a mental breakdown on live television. The words mental breakdown seemed to hit Kelly like a physical blow. Her mouth fell open, and for a second she looked genuinely hurt rather than angry. But then the rage came back twice as strong. How dare you? She hissed, pointing a shaking finger at Mark. How dare you come on my show and talk to me like that? I am Kelly Clarkson. I am an American Idol winner, a Grammy winner, a talk show host with millions of viewers. You are nothing compared to what I've accomplished. Mark stared at her for a long moment, and when he spoke, his voice was filled with genuine disgust. Kelly, I don't care if you're the Queen of England. Success doesn't give you the right to treat people badly. And right now, in front of all these people, you're showing everyone exactly who you really are when the cameras are rolling and you think you have power over someone. He started to remove his microphone, his movements deliberate and controlled despite the fury radiating from every inch of his body. You know what the real tragedy is here, Kelly? You had a chance to have a good interview today. I came here prepared to talk about a movie that I'm genuinely excited about, with stories that would have entertained your audience and maybe even boosted your ratings. Instead, you chose to make this personal, to attack my family, to question my character, and to turn what should have been a simple promotional appearance into whatever this disaster is. Kelly was practically shaking now, her carefully styled hair slightly disheveled, her makeup showing the strain of the confrontation. Don't you lecture me about missed opportunities, Mark. You're throwing away the chance to reach millions of viewers because you can't handle a few tough questions. Tough questions? Mark's laugh was harsh and humorless. Kelly, asking about my movie would have been questions. Asking about my preparation for the role, about working with the director, about the stunts, about the message of the film. Those would have been questions. What you did was make snide comments about my marriage, and then attack my character when I called you out on it. There's a difference between journalism and whatever this was. The studio was so quiet that you could hear the air conditioning humming in the background. Every eye was fixed on the two celebrities facing off in the middle of what was supposed to be a light-hearted daytime talk show. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every word, every gesture, every moment of this career-defining meltdown. Mark finished unclipping his microphone and handed it to a nearby sound technician who looked absolutely terrified to be caught in the middle of this war zone. The simple act of removing the mic seemed to signal that this interview was officially over. But Kelly wasn't ready to let him go that easily. You know what, Mark? Kelly's voice had taken on a manic quality that made everyone in the studio uncomfortable. I'm glad this is happening. I'm glad everyone gets to see the real Mark Wahlberg. The guy who can't handle it when a woman stands up to him. The guy who runs away the minute someone asks him a real question instead of just letting him recite his rehearsed talking points. Mark paused halfway to the edge of the stage and turned back to face her, his expression a mixture of disbelief and contempt. Kelly, do you hear yourself right now? Do you have any idea how you sound? Because I guarantee you that when this airs, people aren't going to be talking about how I couldn't handle your questions. They're going to be talking about how you completely lost control on your own show. Lost control? Kelly's laugh was shrill and desperate. I'm in complete control. This is my show, my stage, my audience. You're just a guest here, Mark. A guest who apparently can't handle being challenged by someone who isn't impressed by his tough guy routine. The audience was shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Some of them actually looking toward the exits, as if they wanted to escape this increasingly ugly scene. A few crew members had their phones out, clearly recording what they knew would be career-ending footage for someone. Though at this point, it wasn't clear who would suffer more from this disaster. Challenged. Mark's voice rose again, his famous temper finally breaking through completely. You call making snide remarks about my marriage challenging me? You call questioning my professionalism challenging me? Kelly, you haven't challenged me with a single substantive question since I sat down. You've just attacked me personally, and then tried to make it about gender when I called you out on your unprofessionalism. That's not challenging. That's bullying. And I don't tolerate bullies. With that, Mark Wahlberg turned and walked off the set, leaving a stunned Kelly Clarkson and a silent studio in his wake. The cameras lingered on Kelly's face, capturing her bewildered expression before the show abruptly cut to a commercial break. The internet, of course, exploded. Within minutes, clips of the exchange were going viral, sparking a global debate about journalistic ethics, celebrity privacy, and the true nature of Hollywood's biggest stars. Was Mark Wahlberg right to walk out? Was Kelly Clarkson out of line? One thing is for sure. This interview will be remembered as one of the most shocking moments in daytime television history. And the world just got a glimpse of a side of Mark Wahlberg we rarely see. A man of unwavering integrity, pushed to his absolute limit. What do you think about this shocking confrontation? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more exclusive content like this. If you were as shocked as we were by this interview, hit that like button and share this video with your friends. What are your thoughts on Mark Wahlberg's reaction and Kelly Clarkson's questions? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into celebrity drama and untold stories.